Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Neil. Now, there are people who think that BJS is a dinosaur, and it perhaps is publishing general surgery papers when all the rest of the people in this room are moving towards a specialty practice. And yet, it has 10,000 subscribers a year, more than it's ever had before. It has a flourishing website. It has an improving impact factor. It's the second highest impact factor in a general surgery journal in the world, and the highest outside America. So it must be doing something right. I'm hoping during the symposium this afternoon that we'll be able to see how specialization hasn't affected a general surgical journal, and that there's a bit of something even outside your own specialty to entertain you. I've been an editor on BJS now for 15 years, and during that time with John Murray, I've edited the vascular papers broadly. And we've had a couple of rivals. There's the American Journal of Vascular Surgery and the European Journal of Vascular and Endovascular Surgery. And yet over the last 15 years, we've had a steady stream of approximately 100 submissions a year that are concerning arterial and venous surgery. That represents about 10% of the papers received at BJS, and it's stayed very steady during that time. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to just show you one or two of the papers that are personal favorites, and I like themes, so I'm going to pick up themes which will represent the sort of papers that we like to publish. Let's look at the humble varicose vein first of all, the staple diet of the vascular specialist, and under threat at the moment in this country. It's regarded by most PCTs as an insignificant disease, not worthy of treatment, and therefore many of the PCTs are actually withdrawing funding. How do we argue? How do we make a case that actually the symptoms caused by varicose veins are worth treating? Well, just about the only piece of evidence there is something called the REACTIVE trial, which was a collaboration between Sheffield and Exeter, published in 2006. We published the clinical results followed by the cost-effectiveness analysis. In the REACTIVE trial, they had to screen 1,000 patients before they could get 246 who agreed to be randomized either to early surgery or conservative treatment. They managed to get the 250 patients they needed. They randomized them. The surgical group had relatively few complications, but all the people in the surgical group had improved symptoms after 1 year, and they still had an measurable improved quality of life 2 years later, despite the fact that the conservative group by this time had been heavily contaminated by people demanding surgery. They also did a very full cost-effectiveness analysis and showed that the improvements in quality of life were this value here, which is well within the guidelines that the National Institute of Health and Clinical Excellence accepts as being worthy of funding by the National Health Service. And this remains the only information in the literature that actually justifies, if you wish to offer varicose vein treatment for patients with symptomatic and uncomplicated varicose veins. So it's an important piece of work. What about varicose ulcers? Varicose ulcers, very expensive, greatly affect quality of life. They're now evidence-based. The treatment of varicose ulcers is with 4-layer compression. Everybody agrees that. There have been some papers on that in BJS. But the other thing that's always argued about in leg ulcers is what dressing should you use? And any of you who have got tissue viability nurses or who have had anything to do with leg ulcer clinics will know that every single nurse has their favorite. They usually have 3, and they're usually the latest thing on the block, and they're usually expensive. And BJS last year and the year before had a couple of major trials in this area. One was from New Zealand looking at honey-impregnated dressings, and one was from the collaborative group again from Sheffield and Exeter, which looked at silver-donating dressings. These are really popular dressings amongst leg ulcer treatments and very expensive. Both of these trials were well-powered, 250 patients in each, and neither was able to show any significant advantage of one of these new expensive dressings over the cheap and cheerful non-adherent dressings. We culminated that with a leader in the journal at the end of last year, written by Charles McCollum, and he he concluded that there's no evidence that modern dressings influence the healing process and that the cost cannot be justified. And he made the very good point that a large amount of the research done in this area is small trials, uncoordinated, they don't talk to each other, and that's resulted in a very incoherent literature that's very difficult to work with. And you'll see the conclusion from the leader that he produced is that actually at the moment there's no advantage in using anything expensive. For the final few minutes, I'm going to move to arterial surgery, the aortic aneurysm. A number of years ago, the group from St. George's started mining an area of research which responded to the fact that it seemed that the results of aortic surgery in the UK weren't particularly good. And they started doing research which showed that that the hospitals that are doing the more of these operations and these interventions got better results, the volume-outcome relationship. And these were the first two papers they published in 2007. One of them that was looking at HES data, that's the hospital episode statistic data from the UK. And the bottom one was a meta-analysis of all the world literature on this subject, which was largely from North America, using the very big North American databases. And the results were very similar. They showed this volume-outcome relationship, which is that the more you do, the better your results get. And that's now been a consistent theme that's been used within vascular surgery in this country to remodel the way we provide vascular services, to move vascular surgery into higher volume centres. And it fits very comfortably with the NHS aortic aneurysm screening programme, which is just about to start, and for which the outcome results of aortic interventions will define how successful the programme is. Now, they have gone on to mine this area very successfully. They've done volume outcome relationships for endovascular aneurysm repair, for carotid surgery, and next month in BJS you'll see what I hope is the last one on femoropopliteal bypass. And they all show a consistent theme which fits very well with, for those of you who are not vascular surgeons and undertake high-risk, low-volume operations. If you concentrate them in larger centres, you get better results. That's a political and a medical theme that has developed over the last few years. The guys at St. George's went even further, and we published their model for reconfiguration of specialised vascular services based upon this. And although we didn't use this illustration in the article because it was a little bit too scary, and I'm grateful to Peter Holt for lending it to me, these are the sites that currently offer vascular services in England. The HES workers all from England. And this was St. George's suggestion of how many centres were actually needed to provide this work in England, which is, you can see why it didn't hit the journal. And finally, just to say that the same group have now published work to bring you right up to date in this month in the journal, which is that to question men who are on their aortic aneurysm screening program and to ask them about their preferences for where they would like to be treated. And it turns out that the vast majority of men are prepared to travel for better treatment. For example, the question was whether or not you'd be prepared to travel for at least an hour from your local hospital if the local hospital had a mortality rate of 7%, but the distant hospital had a mortality rate of 2% after elective aortic surgery, which is not far away from what happens in real life. And 92% of men would prefer to do that. So, as I say, this feels a comfortable themed bit of research, which has been really nice to publish in the journal one after the other to tell a coherent story. So there you are. Those are my favourites. I hope we'll keep getting more, and I hope it's tried to show you that the themes in vascular surgery are the themes that are very similar to those going on in the other branches of surgery. The BJS continues to move forward. We're going to have a new website and an upgrade later this year, which I hope you'll use. We are looking at virtual issues, so the individual specialties could actually make up their own issues within their specialties. We've got the first BJS podcast going up on the website later next week, and as you know already, this meeting is also going to be turned into a video which you should be able to see on the website and enjoy all over again. Thank you very much.